Hey Michael, welcome back.
Hello.
All right, so today is your third session here with me. It's the third of eight, right? So this session, last session, we talked a little bit about anger and identifying anger, understanding it, describing it, understanding how um, anger really impacts um, the your reactions, right? How it can trigger certain behaviors. So why don't you tell me a little bit about your week and maybe how you've been experiencing, um, have you had any incidents with anger lately?
Well, I had a little bit of a setback this week, I guess you could say. I was out with some friends at a bar.
Mm-hmm.
We were playing darts, and everything's fine. We're playing, we're having fun, and
Mm-hmm.
one of the guys on the team was just kind of being a jerk. He just kind of, when it was just getting more and more competitive, and I'm throwing, he started to say things while I'm throwing, and it was getting towards the end of the game. I throw, and he said something, and I just snapped a little bit, and I just turned around, just got in his face, and he ended up fighting. And it was a big thing, but
Okay. All right. Everyone okay? Yeah, physically?
yeah, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
People jumped in and broke it up.
Okay. So let's see. So basically, you were at a bar, friends. You had there was a man there who started commenting as you're throwing darts. Um, that irritation led to you to anger, and that anger then, because of anger, you reacted and became aggressive by invading personal space, by yelling at him. Right?
Yeah, it's disrespectful.
Yeah,
We're here to play and have fun, and this guy wants
right.
to do all this stuff, and I don't want to. It's not fair, to me to be doing all this. He's starting problems. I don't know what his problem was.
So, right. So this is what we want to focus on today is those triggers, right? Because we can't rid the world of inappropriate jerks, right? We can't do that. It's there's always going to be that guy there that is heckling or making comments. Um, what we need to do is focus on what we can control. And even when you do get angry, you can think about ways to cope with that anger, right? So let's kind of focus on the trigger, right? So you had mentioned that you felt that his actions were inappropriate, they were disrespectful. Do you think in the past that is what has caused you to
Yeah, I
feel?
mean, it's all about like we're playing a game and there's rules to the game, and when you have
Mhm.
someone that is trying to skirt the rules and is trying to affect the game and it making them win and it's unfair.
Mhm.
It's a problem for me. I think that in doing that, he was goading me into this, and I don't know, I just felt like I had to do something.
So was it the rule breaking that upset you, or was it his the heckling?
I think it was the same thing in my mind. You know what I mean?
Okay.
That the heckling is breaking the rules, and when you're doing that, it's disrespectful, and something has to be done to stop
Okay.
someone from acting like that.
So okay. So he was heckling you, and you felt angry, and so your response then was to become aggressive.
Just want to stop it. Yeah.
You just wanted to stop him. Okay. So what are there other ways that we could have potentially stopped the situation, or you could have?
I mean, I guess. I mean,
Okay. Um. So let's see. Have you ever tried things like walking away, deep breaths?
I tried deep breaths before, but then it just in the situation, people saw I was having deep breaths,
Mm-hmm.
and they said something to me about the fact that I was taking deep breaths, and it just made everything worse. It's almost like everybody knew I was doing it, and that made it like,
Right. No recollect. Um, okay. So when he, so it's the same situation where someone was heckling you, even though you were trying to cope.
it wasn't exactly the same situation. I mean,
Okay.
it was certainly a time when I had that same feeling of anger, and that's sort of where it was. But I mean, having to try and do these things that people tell me to do, and then I'm getting called out about it. That almost made it worse, you know.
So let's go back just a little bit. You had talked about he needed to be stopped. So I want to go back to our first session when you had talked a little bit about your father and talk about how his reactions to you and he needed to stop your behavior, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of maybe what I'm talking about because there's rules,
Right.
you know, and that's how I grew up. That's what it's all. There's rules. You break the rules, you get your ass beat, you know. And I think that for me, like, that's something that kept, you know, people back then weren't acting the way they were now. Things weren't crazy like things are crazy now. That if everyone was doing that, doing the right thing, then people wouldn't be acting the way they are. If there's a rules and there's something that happens to you when you break the rules, everything would be a better place. I think that's what it's all about.
So, all right. So let's see. Let's. It seems like really the trigger then is, and that there's been multiple comments, is that the issue is that there are the rules. That you have created an idea in your mind that there are a certain set of rules that everyone needs to abide by.
Everybody's got to act right. Yeah.
Okay. So why don't we think about, did you think that when you were in his face, angry, yelling, punching, was that acting right?
I mean, for me, that's not where it's coming from. It's coming from like that's the punishment. Like that's the way that you act. And, you know, sort of when someone's out of line, you get them back in line.
Okay. Did you feel like you were in line?
I mean, it was a bar.
Okay.
Everybody was out. Everyone's having fun, drinking.
Right.
I mean, it's possible that things were a little out of hand, obviously.
So let's talk about though, right, we had talked last session about anger. And one of those things is when you feel angry, you feel out of control, right?
Yeah.
So did you feel like you were in control when you were angry?
I felt like once that I sort of like hit that moment and snapped and was in this guy's face that I wasn't exactly sure where it was going to go. That it was like I knew where I started it, and then it's not like he backed right down.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that because of that, like I didn't know where it was going to go, but it went where it went quickly. So I guess you could say that was out of control. But the decision to start it wasn't out of control, but after that, it went where it went.
So I think this has been really great. We've talked today. You know, one thing that you have to try and keep in mind is that um, the stress from when you were the stress since you come back from deployment. Um, right, there's always been this uh, flight or flight, fight or flight mode, right? You needed that to survive the conflict. So now, so those ideas of rules and the issues of the consequences of breaking those rules, much more serious when you were at war, right, in Iraq, or when you were a child. The same rules though, like that fight or flight mode now isn't as it isn't what you need to survive now, right? You're not in survival mode anymore. Um, so next time, why don't you think about when you're angry and you're frustrated that someone's breaking the rules? Why don't you try and focus on what are the consequences? What are the real consequences of him breaking the rules, right? Because what the man did, the rule that he broke was that he was heckle, he was irritating. He was trying to interrupt you, right? And so that to get the upper hand in winning a dart game. But really, the end all be all, what the end consequence is not as life-threatening. He's annoying. I get that, right? So when you think about when someone's breaking a rule, think about what are the consequences. Because really, your angry outbursts, your frustration, your feeling out of control could potentially lead to much bigger consequences. So if rules and consequences are how your mind thinks, how you understand things, think about what the consequences, okay? Um, because you could have been hurt, you could have been arrested, right?
Yeah.
So, next time someone for upcoming week, what I want you to focus on is that when someone is breaking a rule, something that is out of your control, right? Take a deep breath and think about the reality of what that rule breaking is, okay? And whether or not it is really going to be what is that consequence going to mean to you or to them? And try and focus on, if it's not life threatening, most of the time it's not, right? Can you take a deep breath and walk away? Can you take a deep breath? And if it is something serious, can you reason with them? Can you talk them through it? You know? Um, so that would be my recommendation for the next week. Think about those things. Okay? So, any other thoughts, questions, concerns before we head out?
No, I don't think so.
Well, Michael, thank you so much for coming in, and we'll see you next week.
Great.
All right? Thank you.